Greetings, I'm Barrett and welcome to Meet Me at the Table. Today we're going to be playing a game of Horizon Zero Dawn. We are going to start our hunt. In this video we're going to go ahead and set everything up, and we're even going to begin the hunt because the setup for this game is not very much. It's easy to get to the table, and then we're going to go ahead and see if we can hunt some of these massive creatures out of Horizon Zero Dawn. For those of you that don't know, this was a PlayStation game that I had played a long time ago and really was a cool game. I'm excited to get the board game to the table. It's made by Steamforged Games, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We are able to play in 3 different modes. One, you can play semi-co-op, you could also play co-op, or you can also play solo. We're going to do this co-op using 2 different hunters, and we're going to see if we can make it all the way to the final hunt and take down the giant sawtooth, which is this guy right here. So we're going to see if we can take him down. Now we're going to quickly set this up, and then we're going to get to playing. So let's go ahead and meet our 2 hunters. The first member of our warring party is going to be our Kaja warrior. She is kind of a nimble-ish type fighter that you're going to see move around the battlefield quite well. She has this ability called Nimble as well, and it says when making an evade roll that only contains orange dice, you may roll an extra orange die, then discard a single die of your choice. So that's her power, and you're going to see how that works during the playthrough, but for now we're going to place her right there. Now, of course, each one of these characters does get their own set of starting gear, and each one plays a little bit different, which is pretty cool. She does have these Silk's Light card draw. It is allowing her to roll that orange die for defense. And this symbol right here is a critical. And so if she gets to critical, she's going to get 3 defense. And now this is going to go, of course, combo off of her power for Nimble. So when she actually gets attacked, she's going to be rolling these dice, and with her Nimble she'll be rolling an extra one, and we're going to be looking for pips. Basically we're going to be looking for all these different arrows. The more arrows we have, the more we've blocked damage coming in, and of course these are our criticals. If we roll those, she's going to be gaining 3 of them. So we'd roll 2, and let's say that was our roll, I could choose to remove that one so I could get my 3 defense against what's attacking us. Now we're going to move into our weapons. We do have a Karja halberd, and it's going to roll orange and blue. This is the range of the weapon. It's 0. This is its special ability when you're critical. I believe that means she can move 3 squares after she hits with this. With her critical, she can choose to move 3. Now it also has this up here. This is how much upgrade you can do on this weapon. She can get 2 different upgrades for it, but of course you have to get those from the merchant, and we'll see how that goes during the playthrough. We're going to put that right there. She also has a ranged weapon. It is a sling. It can only be upgraded once, but it has 2 range. It rolls an orange die, and it also has a critical of +1 damage. Now you can only use ranged weapons if you actually have the ammo, and the ammo is actually found inside of your deck. Every person has a starting deck, and this is hers. So she has these freeze bombs inside her deck that allow her to use her sling, which would roll a orange die and also the black die on this. And of course this also has a critical that can freeze people, and if you roll a critical you can go ahead and use it here. If you roll the orange one you can use it there. So these are pretty cool cards. Every one is a little bit different, and each character fights a little bit different. Now this is not only a action deck, it is also going to be your life. If at any point you take damage, you're going to be discarding cards either from your hand or from the deck itself, and at any point you can't actually draw from this deck because they're all in the discard pile. You have done what's called fainting. In a semi-co-op, that just means you reshuffle your deck and you skip a turn, but in the co-op mode, if either one of our characters goes down fainting, we have lost the hunt, and we are going to have to move on to the next hunt or step of the encounter without having completed the hunt, which really is not good at all. So that is her. She's all set up. The only thing left she has is her upgrade tree. Each character has one of these cards, and up here we start at our level 1 type hunter, and we're going to be moving on down, and as we go through our hunts, if we're able to do hunts that are more powerful than what our level is, we're going to be upgrading our character with different abilities or weapons found inside the upgrade deck of our character. For example, here's her upgrade deck, and you're going to see that she has 1s and 2s and eventually 3s, where she's able to get either weapons or she's able to get new abilities or things like that. And of course, as you go up the tree, you have to decide, because if you decide to take this power, you can't go over here and get these because they don't connect. You can only go down the ones that connect. So that's our first character, our Karja warrior. The next member of our hunting team is going to be Nora Marksman. She is accurate. When targeting components with a ranged attack, you may re-roll any number of dice. So some of the monsters we fight will have components on their back, and if you hit them, you can re-roll dice with her because she's very accurate. For example, if we look at our Scrapper, here's one of the enemies we may find. These are the components down here, so if she ever targets one of these, she'll be able to re-roll some of her dice. It's pretty cool. Now, of course, she does start with some armor. She's got her Nora Protector light, which gives her 2 orange dice. And of course, criticals are going to give her 3 defense, which is pretty good. Now, of course, we've got weapons. What would be complete without weapons here? We got a spear. This has no range, and it can be upgraded twice, and its critical is going to give an extra wound. And it also rolls 2 orange dice. And it says, if you roll a critical, ignore the target's armor when resolving damage. So every monster is going to have armor associated with it. Again, we'll look at our Scrapper. Our Scrapper card right here does show that it has 1 armor, and so that would be ignoring it. Of course, if you do ever attack a monster that is not alerted to your presence, they don't get to use their armor as it is. So it's always better not to attack alerted. So this power hopefully isn't going to come into effect. I hope I just one-shot all these enemies and we don't even have to worry about that. Of course, she does have a bow, hence the picture. If she's got her hunter's bow here, it can be upgraded once. It has 2 range, rolls 2 orange dice, and it does 2 damage extra with a critical. So she's really good at using her bow. And of course, she has her upgrade card. We'll place this down right here. And just like our hunter, or our warrior, our card warrior, she has an entire set of starting cards here as well. And here are her hunter arrows. So just like she had those freeze things, this one has hunter arrows, and you can roll an extra orange die. The critical isn't going to help, but of course that means you're rolling 3 orange dice to try to take down these things. That's really good. And of course they all have their own different cards in here. Now, of course, when you go to play cards, you can only ever play one of these cards that have this symbol on them. You can't play more than one of those during an attack or action. So we're going to go ahead and place her cards right here. She's all set to go. We've met both of our hunters. Now we're going to go into the setup for the actual game of hunting. Game of hunting wasn't exactly what I should have said. Maybe I should have gone with our 2 play spaces. Here's our first play space. This is going to be our exploration area. Now the exploration area, of course, has our 3 merchants, and as we increase in level and difficulty of the monsters we're going to be fighting, we're going to be meeting up with different merchants that are going to be more upgraded. So as you can see, as these go further, our items and cards in here are going to become better. These are a pretty big merchant deck, and you're going to be able to buy things based on how you do during the hunt. I just put the bows on top so you could see kind of how they power up based on how you actually go through the actual hunting. This is our salvage deck. As we defeat enemies, we're going to be drawing salvage that we can use, of course, to buy some things. For example, this one would take 2 scrap to purchase if we decided to buy this. And of course, what the merchant has is always random. We're never sure what they're going to have for us. Over here is our events deck. We're actually not going to be using this deck, and I will explain why shortly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we have to decide what quarry we're going to hunt. Now, of course, the base game only comes with one, and that is the Sawtooth, and that's this guy right here. We're going to be going against him. So we're going to take our hunter's call. This is going to be set all the way at the end. And if as we go through our hunts, if we run out of time, we automatically have to go to the hunter's call. We're going to see if we have what it takes to take down the giant Razor Fiend and see if we can beat him in his own game, where he lives and what he's going to do. All right, we're going to see what we can do about that. Now, we have to take the other cards. We have level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s. For example, here are our level 1s, here's our level 2s, and here's our level 3s. We're going to go ahead and shuffle up our level 3s. There's 4 of each of these. We're going to shuffle them all up, put it face down. We're going to grab our number 2s. We're going to shuffle them up. We're going to put them down, and then we're going to shuffle our level 1s and put them down as well. Now, in the semi-cooperative game, you would go ahead and pick a leader. That leader would draw 3 of these cards, and then he or she would decide which one they think would be the best to play against. Also, there would be a fledgling, which is the person that's not doing as well as the other ones in the game and may need a little extra help. They would get an event deck card for 3 cards from the event deck, choose one, and both of those people would reveal their cards at the same time, and then you would resolve what those are. We're not going to be playing the event deck because, of course, we're playing cooperatively. So we're working together. We don't need any extra help, and we're not allowed to have any extra help. But we are going to grab 3 cards, and we would be able to decide as a group what we think would be the best way. Of course, there is still our leader, and that's going to be our Nora Marksman. She's going to be our leader, so she would actually have the final say in this. But we're going to look at these and figure it out together. So we do have 3 different cards here. Now let's go ahead and look at some of these and figure out what we're going to do. I'm going to take one of these just to show you what this is all about. First off, of course, we have our map. This is going to be the 2 tiles we're going to play on. This is going to be the amount of extra resources we're going to gain if we defeat every monster on the board. Also up here is the difficulty, and it also shows us how many victory points we need in order to be successful in this hunt. We're going to be playing 1 or 2 players, so we need to have 2. And this is going to be the type of terrain that is going to be found on these tiles when we place them down. And these are the enemies we're going to find and where we're going to find them. A and B are going to be where they're located. Now, of course, we have 3 different cards here that we can choose from, and we have to decide which one we want to do. Now, I believe this is going to be, I think, the card we're going to do. We're going to do this one. The reason I'm doing it is because I'm going to get 1 extra one if I beat it. This one's going to have 2 extra ones if I beat it, so I'm guessing that's a little bit tougher, and we're going to go ahead and do probably one of the easier battles we can right off the bat. I'd hate to look like a terrible hunter in the very first game. What a bad hunter I'd be if I failed. Oh, besides, I'm not really a hunter anyway. I've actually never gone hunting. I've gone fishing. That's about the closest thing I've come to hunting is I hunt fish. But I don't actually hunt, so this will be really awesome to do, and I guess it's about the closest thing I'm going to get to it. So again, we're going to need 2 hunt points in order to succeed in this hunt. We're going to get 1 extra salvage card if we actually can defeat all the enemies. We're going to be having some boulders out on the board. We're going to be fighting against both our watchers, and we're also going to be fighting against our, what are those striders, I think is what they are. But we're going to go ahead and look at both of these enemies and the board and everything right now. So we've chosen this card. We're going to place these 2. We have passed these hunting spots. We're not allowed to go for these, so we have to discard these 2 cards. And we're going to go ahead and put our deck here. Our first one is going to go right here, and then we're going to have some other ones fill up as we go. So this is our first hunt. Let's go ahead and set it up and see how it goes. I've set the map up the way that the card explains it. And the way you can tell is these little dots down here are the actual numbers for the board itself. So 2A is down here. So I've matched it up so that it goes along the 4A board in that area. So all 3 of our map tiles are set out exactly how they're supposed to be. Now on these map tiles, we see many different things going on. This is some tall grass. We're able to hide in that. We're also seeing paths. These are the paths that the enemies are going to be moving on if they're not alerted. So we have 3 different paths, 1 for each of these boards. If at any time a monster or an enemy moves off the board, then you no longer are able to hunt it. It has got away, and it could affect you by not being able to gain the amount of victory points you need. Also, you wouldn't begin the salvage if you did not defeat everything in the hunt area. Now, of course, we're going to go ahead and put down our boulders. We're going to be putting them on all the squares that we see out here on the board. So if we look, we have a square here, and we have a square up there. So we're going to go ahead and take our 2 boulders here and place 1 here, and we're going to place 1 here. Now each one of these terrain pieces does something a little bit different. I'm going to turn it because I'm just like that. I want to kind of make it look like it's good. And there we go. Perfect. I like them like that. I like it so they're all facing the right direction. I'm a little weird like that. Okay, they're all set up and ready to go. Now, of course, every one of those does something a little bit different. The rocky outcroppings, or also boulders, are the ones that are going to give us 1 additional glory point, but that's used only in the semi-cooperative game if you're playing that. Obviously, the goal of the semi-cooperative game is to be the greatest hunter of the group, and to do that, you're going to be gaining glory points. The more glory points you have, the more people look up to you, and the more you become a glorious hunter. But in the cooperative game, of course, we're working together. We're not looking to see who's the best. We're just looking to see if we can take down that sawtooth. So the glory points aren't really going to matter. But what it is going to do is it also allows us to be the most recent activated hunter on the board when it comes to what the monsters are going to do. So if you had one of your partners is not doing so well, you could jump onto this rocky outcropping, and then if they were to choose who was the most recent activated hunter, it would be the one on the rocky outcropping. So that's what these rocky outcroppings are going to do. Are they going to come into effect? I don't really know. We'll see how this transpires. Now, of course, we do have to put our enemies down, and our enemies are going to be decided by the A and B. So we're going to place all the watchers on A. So we have our little watcher minis here. Here's our watcher, painted them all up. He looks like this. These are the watchers. They're going to go ahead and go on A. So we're going to place one right here, and we're going to place another one right over here. And I've placed them in a way so that they are following their designated path. If you've ever played the video game, they actually do walk on a designated path that your character can actually see the path that they're walking on based on how the game unfolds. The other one we're going to place down is we're going to place down our Strider. And our Strider is going to go in B. Here's our Strider. He's kind of a giant looking horse that has been manipulated and recreated through machinery. We're going to go ahead and place it right down here. That is where our horse is going to start, our Strider. Now we do have our two characters. We have our Kajara warrior. She's right here. She's also painted up and ready to go. And we get to place her and our hunter anywhere on the board edge of the card tile that is highlighted with this dot, this big giant dot here, the highlighted one. we're going to go ahead and put it anywhere on the outside board edge. I'm going to put her right here, hopefully ready to take this watcher down on the first turn. We'll see if that happens. Now, of course, we have our Nora Huntsman or Marksman as well. She's also painted up and ready to go. She is going to go ahead, and I think I'm going to place her right here on this board edge. So I'm going to hopefully have her take her on and her take her on. But actually, no, I lied. I'm going to start her over here because she does have that arrow bow that's really good. Now, does she have any arrows? I don't know. Well, hopefully we draw a few. Otherwise, we're going to be in big trouble. Maybe right there. That would be okay. At least she's 2 squares away. Of course, as these monsters activate, you're going to see how it works, but you don't want to be standing next to a monster when it activates. I'll guarantee you that right now, because that's how they're going to activate. They're going to see you, and they're going to start coming after you. So that is our setup. We've gone ahead and got our board set up. We have our 2 hunters set up, and we've also set up our exploration area, and we've already done the exploration phase. How about that? That's pretty quick to do. And that's it. If you're excited to see if our 2 hunters can take down this hunt and continue to become the greatest hunters in Horizon Zero Dawn, then I need you to meet me at the table. Now to begin the first turn, our Nora Marksman, the leader, is going to go ahead and draw her 5 cards from her action deck. So we're just going to give them another quick little shuffle here, and we're going to draw 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and see what she has got. She has Sliding Shot. The hunter may make a dodge before checking the range of this attack. If the hunter kills an enemy during this activation, they gain an additional glory point. And I can only play 1 of these on my turn at a time. We've got some hunting arrows. I'm absolutely fantastic. Oh, we got hunter arrows. That's awesome. Critical hit. Play after this hunter destroys a component to draw a card from the salvage deck. So she might want to start going after that Strider because she can do all these extra things against characters and components. Our Watcher does not have components, and I'll show you that as we look at our enemies. And we're back to Sliding Shot because we got 2 of them. That's awesome. So we're going to place our cards down here, and we're going to decide what we want to do with our Nora Marksman. Now at this point, I'm allowed to do 2 actions with our hunter. After this hunter has resolved her actions, we're going to move over to the enemy step. So it's going to go back and forth between hunter and enemies, hunter and enemies. It's not both hunters, then the enemies. It's going back and forth. So actually ending where you need to be is kind of strategic. If you want to actually be able to attack this character like in your 3rd turn, you might want to be somewhere down the path. But we can't be on the path. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do some of our actions. Now the actions I could do, I could either sprint, which will allow me to move 2 squares. But of course, if you're sprinting, you're going to be way more noticed. If you ever move into a square adjacent to any enemy, they're going to become alerted to you. Or of course, if you start adjacent to an enemy when you sprint, you're going to alert that enemy as well. The next thing you could do is sneak. And of course, that could help you because now you're not alerting those enemies. You can move up to 1 square in any direction, including diagonal, and it'll be a safe move. Now, of course, if this enemy ever activates adjacent to your character, it will be alerted. So if I decide to sneak over here and then do something else, like we'll see some of the other actions, and this activates before I am able to kill it, I would still be adjacent to it when it activates, and it would be alerted. So we're going to go ahead and look at the rest of our actions. Some of the other actions I can do is I can craft, which is kind of like healing your character. You're able to take 3 cards from the bottom of your action discard pile and put them into your draw deck. And you may actually use both of your actions to do this, returning up to 6 cards to your deck. Now that is the only action that your character can do twice in 1 turn. So I can't sprint twice. I can sneak and sprint. I cannot attack twice. I have to do 2 different actions. Of course, the only one I can do twice is that craft action. Another one I can do is I can distract an enemy, which I can choose a target square of a non-alert enemy within 2 squares of your hunter and move the enemy 1 square towards the target square. So I could, again, make it go over here. I can make it come towards me. That's how I could do it. I could distract it. Of course, I can do a ranged attack, or I can do a melee attack. And both are a little bit different. Of course, ranged attack, you have to have line of sight, which means you have to be able to make a path to the enemy you're doing that doesn't go off the board or through other, like, bigger things. Now, the other thing you can do with a melee attack, which is a little bit different that I want to show you, is that if you decide to do a melee attack, you either have to be adjacent or in the same square as the enemy. When you decide to make your melee attack, you actually do move into where that enemy is. If you're not able to defeat the enemy, you do actually have to move out of the square too. You're kind of dodging back out of it or evading back out of the square. I shouldn't say dodge because that's what you do when actually they attack you. So those are the different actions we can perform. I think for our Nora Marksman, we are going to start by doing a ranged attack. Now the only way you can do a ranged attack, of course, is if you have ammo, and we do have our Hunter's Arrow. So we're going to be rolling 1 orange dice for our Hunter's Arrow, and we're going to go ahead and look at our bow. Our bow, of course, has a range of 2 and rolls 2 orange dice in itself. And of course, we are going to go ahead and shoot this guy, hence the reason he's on the screen. We're going to go 1, 2, and shoot him with our bow and see if we can take him out in one shot. Now, before I roll my dice, I do want to show you a little bit about our Watcher. Each monster is going to come with a card like this. It's going to have its stats over on this side, and it's going to have some abilities over here and potentially some components that go along with it. Our Watcher over here has 4 health. It has 1 defense, which will reduce your damage every time you attack it. You don't just knock off the defense you don't have to worry about anymore. It's always going to have the defense, unless, of course, it is not alert when you attack it, which, in this case, it is not. It also is going to give us 1 salvage card when we defeat it. You're going to gain 1 glory point, and it's going to give us 1 point towards the amount of victory points we need for this hunt if we're able to take out this Watcher. It looks pretty cool, and these cards are really nice. All right, we're going to go ahead now and see what we can do to that Watcher. With our bow and arrow, we're going to attempt to aim right at its eye and see if we can take it out. So I'm going to gain my 3 orange dice, and we're going to roll these up and see how it goes. We got a critical, and we got 2 hits. So that's going to be a total of 1, 2, and our critical is going to give us another 2. So that's 4 damage that we have done to our Watcher. And if we look at the card again, of course, he's got his 4 health, but he also has 1 defense. But since he is not alerted, he does not get his defense, which means our 4 is enough to take out this Watcher. We one-shotted him with our magic hunter bow, which is awesome. I'm a huge fan of the bow. And we're going to go ahead and gain 1 salvage card for that. We're going to discard our Hunter's Arrow that we used, and we're going to go ahead and gain a metal shard. We're going to put that right up there. That is from our salvage. We were able to gain a metal shard from killing that Watcher. We're going to go ahead and remove our Watcher from the board, and we're also going to gain 1 of our glory tokens. Now, I know we're not really playing for glory tokens, but it's always fun to have some kind of rivalry. For her second action, she is just going to go ahead and sneak over into the tall grass. Before we move into our enemy phase, I do actually want to draw her cards. I should have done the beginning of the game, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I was too excited to hunt that Watcher that I forgot to draw her cards. So let's go ahead and see what she got. She has gotten Silent Strike. It allows her to use a blue die, and it does an extra 4 if it criticals. And it says this ammunition can only be used if the hunter is on a square containing tall grass at the start of its attack. So it's got that. It's got follow-up. Play after this hunter inflicts a condition with an attack to move into the same square as the target and perform a free melee attack. If this attack kills the target, this hunter gains 1 additional glory point. That's pretty awesome. Then we got Blazing Strike. If this target suffers a condition at the start of the attack, it'll suffer an additional 2 damage. Then we have Anatomical Precision. After this hunter makes an attack, they may reduce the damage inflicted by 1 to draw 2 cards from the salvage deck. Then keep 1 and discard the other. Oh, that's really good. And it happens after the attack. That's awesome. So we're going to go ahead and place these down, and nothing is really going to matter, but I wanted to make sure she had them just in case she could affect the enemy step. The enemy step begins by activating alert enemies. There are no alert enemies on the board because our first hunter was able to take that one out with just 1 shot. That was awesome. That was really, really good. So we're going to go in and move our non-alert enemies. And of course, it always starts with the enemies that are closest to the most activated hunter. So our hunter down here is the one that activated, which is why we're zoomed in here, because our Strider is up there. That will activate second because it's farther away. Now, these enemies can become alerted in multiple ways. Of course, taking damage or getting attacked will alert it. If any other alert enemy enters its square, it will alert it. Also, if another enemy is attacked in the same or adjacent square, these will become alert. The other things that will alert it is if it starts its square in the same place as a hunter is. So if I was here and it started activation, it would be alert. Now, it also will start if anybody is if there's any hunters adjacent to it, it will also become alert unless they're in tall grass, and I am standing in my tall grass. That's awesome. So I'm not going to alert that enemy. Now, if any hunter sprints or into an adjacent square or is adjacent when it starts sprinting, you would also alert your enemies as well. So where I am right now, I'm not going to alert this enemy. It's going to be awesome. So this enemy will then just move one space down its path, trying to get off the board without us killing it, because that would be good for it and bad for us. Our Strider is in the same predicament. He is not alerted. He's just going to go ahead and move one into this tall grass, and who knows, maybe eat a little bit of it. Looking at our Kajara warrior, we're going to go ahead and start her activations. Now, at the beginning of your turn, you can choose to discard any number of cards from your hand and draw back up to your hand size, which is 5, of course, unless you have a bonus of some kind. But remember, this is also your life. So if you're discarding all these cards to redraw cards, and anytime you take damage and you can't discard any cards, you will become faint. Or if at any time you can't draw cards, you're going to become faint. Of course, you can get these back in by, of course, doing your craft action. We're not going to be discarding any cards. I'm absolutely thrilled with the cards I have. So we're going to go ahead and see what she can do. We are in a super primed position to go ahead and hit that thing with our Silent Strike. We, of course, do meet the requirements because the square we're in is our tall grass. So we're going to be able to use our Silent Strike card, and we're going to be attacking with our halberd. So let's go ahead and roll our dice, which is going to be 1 blue from this card and an orange and a blue from this card. Oh, this is going to be awesome. We can hopefully take this guy out in one shot. So we are going to be attacking with our halberd and our Silent Strike card, giving us 2 blue and an orange. And in case you're wondering, our orange consists of 1, 2, 3 of these 1 pips, a double pip, a critical, and a miss. The blue dice are better. Look at this. They only have 1, 2 normal ones. They've got 1, 2, 3 doubles and a triple. So they've got an absolute monstrous amount. Now, they don't have any critical symbols on them, but that's okay. This one has the critical symbols. So if I need to, I can get my 4 attack from there, or I could use it to do my 3 move. We're going to go ahead and roll these up and see what we get. We got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We did not get any criticals, which is kind of sad. I was hoping to move 3 actually at the end of this. It would be pretty cool. But we got 5. Of course, we know our Watcher only has 4 health, and he is not alerted. He got stabbed really badly before he was even able to know what hit him. We're going to go ahead and gain a salvage, and just for the heck of it, we are also going to gain 1 glory point. That Silent Strike card really worked well. So we're going to discard that one. And this did 5 damage to our Watcher. So I'm actually going to play this card as well, Anatomical Precision. After the hunter makes an attack, they may reduce the damage inflicted by 1 to draw 2 cards from the Salvage Deck, then keep 1 and discard the other. I'm going to do that as well because I would have still done 4 damage to it. So we're going to draw 2 cards from our Salvage Deck and see what we have found. We have found a Sparker and a Blaze. Now, sadly, I haven't played this enough to know which one I should keep, but I'm going to go ahead and keep a Blaze. That sounds like a fun one to keep. We're going to go ahead and discard this one. Now, we did kill the Watcher, so I get to draw another card from our Salvage Deck. And we have found, what's this? Ancient Statue. Discard this card during the Merchant step to reveal the top 3 cards from the Merchant deck and purchase one of them at a cost of 1 shard. Once this has been resolved, even if the card is not purchased, shuffle the other cards back into the deck. Oh, that's amazing. So we're going to go ahead and put that down here with our Kajara Hunt Warrior. Now, she does have 1 more action, but I'm going to forego that action. I like to be exactly where I am. Now that we have completed our actions, there is a 3rd step in the player phase that I haven't talked about because it only really plays into effect once you actually have enough victory points. And we do have enough victory points here. We only need 2. We could choose to end our hunt right now if we wish to. And that step is called the maintenance step. If we have decided we have enough points to move on, we could choose to end right here. I don't want to do that. I think we have enough to go ahead and take down that last creature and gain the extra bonus of 1 salvage. So we're going to forego moving on and have a successful hunt and continue into the enemy step. We're going to remove this enemy from the board, and we're going to go ahead and move our Strider. Since our Strider is a non-alert enemy, he is just going to go ahead and continue following his path. This brings us to Nora's turn, who is going to go ahead and draw a card because she has 4 cards here. She's going to go ahead and grab Innovate. Add an additional orange die to this attack. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. All right, let's see what she can do. Remember when I said I had a plan, but it might not be a great plan, but it might be a plan? We're going to go ahead and first start with her. She's going to dash, or sprint, I should say, 2 squares up into some more tall grass. I like this tall grass stuff. And from there, she's going to go ahead and make a ranged attack again using her hunter arrows and that bow again, because this is going to be awesome. Now let's go ahead and talk about our Strider for just a second. Our Strider has a blaze canister here, right, with 2 tear value is what it's called. It also, if I destroy it, the enemy is going to suffer fire damage, which is going to be awesome. And if I do destroy this, it's going to take 2 damage. Of course, I could maybe just damage it, which will, if I get half of the damage on the actual component, I would damage the component, which means it'll be even easier to kill next time. But we're going to go ahead and probably just target it with that arrow and blow it up. I really hope we don't miss this. We got 3 orange dice to go against that canister. I'm going to go ahead and I have to choose right now if I want to go against the Strider or against a certain component. I'm choosing the component mainly because we have Nora, of course, our marksman here that has accurate. When targeting a component with a ranged attack, you may re-roll any number of dice. Now we're going to roll our 3 orange dice and see how we do against that canister. We got a total of 1, 2, which is the tear value. Now, of course, it does get its defense if it's alerted, but it is not alerted, so it is not going to be able to deal with this damage. I am going to destroy the component, but I'm also going to roll again because I can, because I'm accurate. And we got 3. Just for the heck of it, we have destroyed the canister. Super good. We have totally destroyed the canister, and I'm also going to go ahead and play critical hit. Play after the hunter destroys a component to draw a card from the salvage deck. I'm going to discard this card and grab a card from our salvage deck and see what we have got. We got, well, what do you know? A blaze canister. So we're going to go ahead, and this character is going to suffer 2 damage, and it is now on fire. Wow. We're going to place 2 damage down on this card. Normally you could go ahead and put it next to the model, but there's only 1 on the board, so I'm just going to go ahead and place it there. And we're also going to place a fire token on it as well. When it ends its activation, it is going to take 1 damage from that fire token. And if that fire token is actually what kills the enemy, the players will get the listed encounter points, but we're not going to be able to draw from the salvage deck or gain glory points. So you want to make sure you don't kill him with fire, but fire's pretty good because now he's going to actually be at half health by the time he's done with his thing. Also, we are going to put a destroyed token on our blaze canister. We have these tokens. This means it's damaged, and this means it's destroyed. So we're going to go ahead and place it right here. Some enemies, this would affect their AI. On this enemy in particular, it really doesn't. Of course, destroying it, all it does is start it on fire. We are going to resolve its herd instincts, where it says when the enemy becomes alert, it moves 1 square towards the closest enemy. And I guarantee you right now, he's on fire and wounded, he's super alert. So since our characters are both equidistant, he's going to go ahead and move 1 this way because this is the character that is not only alerted him, it's the one that has activated the most recently. With her turn done, we're now going to go into the monster's turn, and we're actually going to see what these monsters do. We didn't one-shot it this time. We're going to go ahead and look at the AI card of our Strider. It's going to start right here. It's going to ask, is another enemy within 2 squares? Yes, there is an enemy within 2 squares. That's her and her. And of course, this is the one that's most recently activated, so it's going to go after that one. It's going to move 2 towards the closest hunter, and it is going to attack with a melee attack of 4 damage. So this is going to come barreling into this square and attack her for 4 damage. Now the monsters don't roll dice. We're going to be rolling our defense dice against this. Now if you notice, these are black and these are blue. It's always going to do the black ones. It's going to go ahead and deal with the blue ones in a different situation. They're what are considered conditional steps. It's going to start at the top and move down. If it meets a condition, it will go ahead and do that. For example, if we look at this one again, for example, I had like an attack or something, it wouldn't do that. It says, is another enemy within 2 squares? No. It would move 1 towards the closest enemy. Well, that's not going to help it. It could move 2 towards the closest enemy, and it would actually attack. That's going to try to do what it can to be the most beneficial. At this point, Nora has to go ahead and evade. She's able to use her 2 orange dice to try to evade. And again, we want to get these little pips, because the more pips we get, the less damage we take. So we're going to roll up our dice and see what we got. We got a critical and we got a 1. Wow, that's absolutely rocking. So the critical is going to give us 3 defense, and this is going to give us 1. So that's 4. We totally nullified the attack of that Strider. Now, if the Strider would have had a condition that would have been placed on us, it wouldn't have been able to do it because it didn't do any damage to us. In order to place conditions onto characters or enemies, you actually do have to damage the person, not just make the attack. Now, before we continue on with what this is going to do to our Strider, because of course our Strider is about to take 1 point of damage from fire, I do want to talk about our card again. It's asked right here, is there another enemy within 2 squares? So the difference with the way this game works is enemies are actually your enemies, not his enemies. So are there any enemies within 2 squares? No, there were not, because there's no other enemies on the board. Yes, move 2 towards the closest hunter and attacks. So if there was another enemy within 2 squares, which say there was another hunter or another one of these things right here, it would have moved over and attacked. But since there's no, then it's going to go to these conditional things. It's going to move 1 towards the closest enemy. Again, there are no enemies on the board, so it is going to forego that action. It's then going to use the second action to move 2 towards the closest hunter. So the hunter is you, the enemies are your enemies, not its enemies. So it's going to move towards the closest hunter, and then it was going to attack. So the attack is still going to happen, and everything's resolved the way it's supposed to. I just explained how this card works, and I want you to understand how it does, because it's going to become more advanced the bigger and more intricate the enemies we fight are. So this enemy has completed its activation. It's going to go ahead and place the card back over there. It is going to take 1 damage because, of course, it is going to be on fire. Now that it's taken its 1 damage, we are going to remove the fire token. The other token I forgot to place is its alert token, and well, of course, it's highly alert. This, now that it's in our square, the only thing left to do is we have to dodge. We have to dodge out of the way. If you've ever played the game, as you're attacking these things, you're dodging all over the place and rolling around, and I'm going to go ahead and dodge over to here. You have to always move out of the square you're attacked from. That's how this game is played. So our Strider has completed its activation. It's now going to go on to our Karja Warrior's turn. Our Karja Warrior has 3 cards. She's going to go ahead and draw 2. We're going to see what we get. We found freeze bombs. Awesome. We found 2 freeze bombs. These would be fantastic to attack with, but I'm sorry, we're not going to do that. I've got too many other great plans. I do have a couple options as to what I'm going to do to this poor Strider. One of the things I could do is I could go ahead and play my freeze bomb, which would give me a black die and an orange die to go ahead and attack this Strider. Most likely I wouldn't kill it by that, but if I'm able to inflict this condition, I could go ahead and combo it with my follow-up card. Play after this hunter inflicts a condition with an attack to move into the same square as the target and perform a free melee attack. If the attack kills the target, the hunter gains an additional glory point. So that's one of my options. Of course, it's very situational. I have to roll that symbol on a black die, which is a 50-50 chance on that black die. Or I could go ahead and sprint into that square and use my Silent Strike. And this ammunition can only be used if the hunter is in a square containing tall grass at the start of the attack. And I could go ahead and sprint 1-2 into the tall grass and make my attack. And I believe that is going to be our best plan. Playing our Silent Strike and our Halberd card gives us 2 blue dice and an orange dice. She's pretty cool. She gets a lot of really good dice. All right, we're going to see if we can take out our Strider in 1 shot here. We got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and our Strider has a total number of health equal to 6. But of course, it's already taken 3 damage, so that means I only need 3 to kill it. But it does get to use its defense because it is now alerted. So it's going to be able to block one of them. But guess what? Sorry, Mr. Strider. These 4 attacks are going to get through and you're going to go down. And I'm going to gain a glory token and I'm also going to gain a salvage card. We're going to take our glory token and we're also going to gain a salvage card. Just for the heck of it here, we got a glory token. We got a metal shard. So we've got 3 salvage cards. And of course, our other character has 2. That's the end of our first round. We were able to take out everybody on the map, meaning we're going to get the bonus of 1 salvage card. So our Kajar Warrior is going to go ahead and gain another Blaze canister. And our hunter, our marksman, Nora Marksman, is going to go ahead and gain a Blaze canister as well. Well, we're blazing. Everybody's blazing. That's awesome. And we're going to move into the next step. After absolutely annihilating those enemies, we're going to be moving into the 3rd step of this, and that's the campfire phase. Now, of course, we did a really good job. We got some great die rolls, but you also remember that was probably one of the easier fights in this game, and it's going to become progressively harder as we go, so we have to enter into the campfire stage, buy some new equipment, and level our characters up. So the first thing we do in the campfire stage is we determine the victory step. Well, of course, that's not going to happen in the co-op version. We're just going to take our first player token and move it on over to our Kajara Warrior. She's going to be the first player in the next step. So she's going to draw the cards and we're going to decide together what to hunt, but then she's going to be taking the first action. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and move into the second step, which is going to be our level up step. So we're going to take our card here, and if you complete a hunt that is a higher experience than you are, you're going to gain new upgrades. For example, we were level 0 and we completed a level 1 hunt. So we get to either add 2 elusive cards or a prideful card to our Kajar Warriors cards. So let's go ahead and check these out. The first one we have, of course, is Prideful. It says, this hunter may discard 1 glory point to reroll an attack. If the reroll attack is either destroys a component or kills the target, this hunter gains 1 additional glory point. This might not be too bad because I don't really care about glory points. So that's one thing to think about. The other one we could do is we could add in 2 elusive cards. And elusive states, after resolving an evade roll, this hunter may perform a sprint action instead of a dodge roll. Now remember, whenever a monster attacks you in your square, you have to move 1 square away. And this would allow her to sprint, meaning she could move 2 squares away if she wanted to after being attacked by a monster. Or I could take Prideful. So that's something to think about. Let's go ahead and look at our Nora Marksman and see what she can take. She can either gain a new weapon, the Karja Bow, or she can gain the trait Scavenger. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. The first one we have is Scavenger. Scavenger states, whenever another hunter kills an enemy, you may draw a card from the Salvage Deck. Wow, that seems really good. And this is going to be out on the board at all times. Now the other one I could take is our Kajar Hunter Bow, which is going to give us a blue die, a critical of 4, and it shoots at a range of 2. Now let's go ahead and look at our bow that we have right now, our Hunter Bow. I actually don't think we're going to take it. 2 orange, giving us only 2 criticals. So it's criticals better. It gives us a blue die instead of 2 orange dice. And of course, our weapons that we fire with give us an orange die. I think we're going to keep our Hunter Bow. I'm not going to go for this. We're going to go ahead and take our Scavenger instead. And with our Kajara Warrior, I'm going to go ahead and take Prideful. I think that's going to be really good. So we've gone ahead and leveled our characters up. The other thing we have to do as we level our characters up is we're going to gain more cards to our deck, which means we're going to be able to last longer. It's kind of like gaining hit points. We start with 16. We're going to go up to 18. Now, we don't gain any cards from leveling up because we decided to take this Scavenger card instead. So we're going to add 2 stamina cards to our deck. All these say is draw a card. So we're going to go ahead, add them to our deck. They kind of give us more life, but it's also going to give us the ability to draw some cards if we want to. So we're going to give 2 to our marksman. And we're also going to give 2 to our warrior as well, because she is also going to gain 2 cards because she starts at 14 and now she has 16. With our level up stage out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and move our cards a little bit. We're going to go ahead and I'll just put these with ourselves right here. That's fantastic. And we're going to go into the merchant step, where we're going to go ahead and take our level 1 merchant deck, which is noticed by this symbol up here. That's a level 1 merchant deck. And since we defeated a level 1 encounter, we're going to grab some level 1 merchant cards. We're going to shuffle these up and we're going to draw a bunch of cards. Okay, here's how this is going to work. I'm going to go ahead and draw cards until we meet the requirements of the merchant. And our first card we drew is going to be a Trip Caster, a Kajar Trip Caster. This is going to be a bow type weapon, or it's going to be a weapon card. You're going to draw 1 weapon card, so we have our weapon card out, and we're going to keep on drawing. We got a satchel. This is going to be a miscellaneous item card. We're going to put that down here. We're going to draw again. We have found an upgrade modification card. We're going to put that down here. Now we get 2 of those. We're going to draw another. We found another damage modification. That's fantastic. We'll draw our next one. Now we already have 2 out here, so we're going to go ahead and discard this one. That one isn't going to be in effect. We got another one. We're going to keep on drawing. We got Shock Wire. This is going to be a ammunition. We're going to put 1 of those out. The only thing we haven't found yet is an armor card. So we're going to keep drawing until we find an armor card. And sadly, look at these fire arrows. They're just disappearing. Hard point arrow, fire arrows. Oh, I would have so liked to get these. This shock wire really sadly isn't going to do anything unless I decide to get both of these things together. But we'll see how this goes. Another coil. We don't need that. Another arrow. Another health potion, which would be an item here, but we don't already have one of those. Okay, there's got to be some armor in here somewhere. But notice how you just keep drawing until you find what you're supposed to. We're going to keep going. We finally found something. We have found Baku Ice Hunter Light Armor. It's going to give us a black die, and this hunter is immune to ice. Now, this is a totally random piece of equipment because this black die is a 50-50 roll. So we're going to go ahead and put this here. Let's take a look at all the things we have that the merchant has put out here. and then we're going to decide what we want to do. Of course, we do have one more special thing we're going to be able to do, but we're going to start here. We, of course, have our Kajar Tripcaster. It's going to cost us 2 of our metal shards in order to get. Now, of course, I only have 1 metal shard here. You can use any resource as a metal shard in a 1-to-1 ratio. And you can use any 2 metal shards as a resource of your choice in a 2-to-1 ratio. So that's how that works. This is going to have no extra effect if you do a critical. It gets 1 orange die and has a range of 2. Now, like I said, this Tripcaster is going to fire these type of weapons. And of course, our shock wire is the only one we have up here. And it's going to cost 1 1 metal shard. And I get to invoke shock to the person, and I get to roll a blue die. So putting those together, I would be doing a blue and yellow die, invoking shock. But of course, that's at 3 shards to do all of that. I don't know if that's worth it, because again, this gets shuffled into your deck, which means I would take out 1 of my stamina cards in order to place it in our deck. And is it ever always going to come out? Who knows? There's a lot of cards in our deck. Next, we got our Hoarder's Satchel. This one says it's going to increase the hunter's hand size by 1. Might not be a bad thing. Of course, I am going to need a metal shard and a sparker, which we decided not to keep because I didn't know which one to keep. Look at all these. We've got a damage coil. It says right here, on a critical hit, this attack inflicts an additional 1 damage in addition to any other effects. Then we've got a resist melee weave. Reduce the damage suffered by this hunter from melee attacks by 1. These seem really good. And oh, you know what? That might actually pair really good with this, because even if I roll terribly, I can still reduce the damage by 1, which wouldn't be too bad. Of course, this is going to cost us 3 shards, and this would cost another 1. Sadly, I don't know if we're going to be able to pick these up. Now, of course, before we continue on, there is one more thing we have to do, and that is going to have to do with our Kajara warrior. She has this ancient statue that she found. It says, discard this card during the merchant step to reveal the top 3 cards from the merchant deck and purchase 1 of them at the cost of 1 shard. Once this has been resolved, even if the card is not purchased, shuffle the other cards back into the deck. So we're going to go ahead and grab 3 cards. We have found Nora Survivor Light. That makes me sad because Nora doesn't have this. It says reduce the damage from attacks that inflict any of those status ailments by 1. Oh, but of course it costs something I don't have. We're going to put that over here because I can only buy 1 of these 3. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's only going to cost me 1 salvage. Oh, look, a better sling. This might be totally what we get because she uses slings. That's going to be awesome. It does 2 yellow dice. What does this one do? Just 1 yellow dice, I bet? I bet it does 1. Yeah, it does. And it's got a range of 1. They both have a range of 2. This one's going to do 2 on a critical. Oh, that might be something we buy. All right. Sorry, Mr. Sling. You might be going by the wayside. And our third one is a firebomb, which is going to be an arrow. Now, sadly, I can't use it. So I think what we're going to do for 1 metal shard, we're going to get that Kajara sling. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm going to go ahead and take this. That's why not. I don't see why we're going to keep the other one. We're going to do that just like that. All right. Now these get shuffled back into the deck just like this. There we go. Just shuffle it like that. I'll shuffle it later. We're going to discard our metal shard. And now we have to decide what else we want to get. Now, of course, she has 2 blaze, and she's got all this other stuff. 2 blaze and a metal shard. Now, if we look at her, she does have this one that gives her 1 die, but she gets to roll 2 dice and take the one she wants. So she's almost guaranteed 2, at least 1 or 2 every time she dodges. The other one, on the other hand, she gets 2 of these, and but this is really good too. I don't know what to get here. I'm going to let everybody go ahead and decide what I should do. Now remember, I can spend 1 of these in a 1-to-1 ratio to gain metal shards. So these are all up for grabs. Or of course, I can discard 2 metal shards to equal anything else. That pretty much null and voids this because I don't have enough metal shards. Of course, I do have the Tripcaster and the Shockwire. I could try to get into my hand and into my person if I wanted to get rid of the Hunter's Bow. But of course, our Hunter Bow is 2, and I've got a lot of arrows in there. So this is something we have to decide. How should we go about equipping our characters to move into the next exploration phase and decide that we're going to fight? I'm going to leave that up to you in the comments below. So far, we're doing fantastic. We easily took out that first encounter. I'm super excited. This game is really, really cool. I'm really excited for the tactics of moving around on that board and having to decide how to take out each enemy and when to take them out. I think that's amazing. I love the cards that we have, and I love the way each character fights a little bit differently. She only shot she only melee'd attacked. It was really cool to see the total difference in the way these attack. Of course, now she has this new sling. Maybe we might be doing more attacks with her like that. And who knows, maybe this one might run in instead. All right, that's where we're sitting right now. I hope you're enjoying the playthrough so far. We've gotten through our first hunt. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 more before we hit that hunter's call. If you did enjoy this playthrough, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell symbol so you know when the next part of this video comes out. Also, please feel free to leave anything in the comments below. Not only do I want to know your opinion on what we should do, I want you to tell me what else you think about the game. Are you enjoying it? Are you not enjoying it? What do you think? Again, thank you so much for watching, and if you're excited to see if Nora Marksman and Kajar Warrior can be the greatest hunters in all of Horizon Zero Dawn, then I need you to meet me at the table.